the mental state of the defendant, that is applies to the earlier one, assault and also for battery. Am I right? Betul kan? Okay. The second one is, the second element is the restraint must be a direct consequence of the defendant's act. The second element, the plaintiff need to show proof for false imprisonment is the restraint must be a direct consequence of the defendant's act. Um, can you see? It's in your slide, slide 10. Can you see? Slide 10. So that means here, only the person who directly causes the confinement may be successfully sued for false imprisonment. Be liable either because he himself confined or imprisoned the plaintiff, or he had instigated another person to confine or imprison the plaintiff. So that means here, the second element the plaintiff need to show proof for false imprisonment is one, either the defendant he himself directly causing the false imprisonment on the plaintiff, or is instructing someone to do it on his behalf. Both are elements of false imprisonment. So either he can do it personally or he is instructing someone to do it. Then got false imprisonment, which they are doing it illegally or against the law. Against the law, yeah.
So just now no
As
voice.
long as, yeah.
Hi sir. Just now no voice.
What's that?
Just now
No, I can't hear.
just
No,
now
I can't hear you. What you're trying to say?
just now you go
Hello,
for
hello.
hello sir, can you hear me? Yeah, just now
Ah,
you go for
yeah.
yeah, after that you
Ah,
continue, is it? Then I think don't have voice.
No, okay. What about now? Can you hear me now? What about now?
Yeah, now can ready.
Now, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So that means here, what I'm trying to say here is now, what are the elements? What are the elements needed to establish false imprisonment? What are the elements here? The first one is the mental state of the defendant, which applies for assault and also it applies for battery. Am I right? For false imprisonment also applies. The mental state of the defendant. What do you mean by the mental state of the defendant? That means here, the defendant must have committed the restraint intentionally. The conduct is done by himself. That means he already in his mind to lock up the plaintiff. Okay, that is what you mean by the mental state of the defendant. So here, not necessary. The second element here, the strain must be direct consequences of the defendant's act. So that means here, the act of false imprisonment must be done directly by the defendant. The act must be done directly by the defendant or anyone appointed by him to do the false imprisonment. So not necessarily the defendant he has to do it personally. He could also instruct someone to lock up the plaintiff. So that all these activities they're doing is against the law. When put a person lock up, that is doing it in of executing his duty. But here people are doing it against the law, against the law. This is what you mean by no, yeah. Is it the line is breaking?
Yes, the break I spread the line.
It's breaking the line, yeah. I'm not sure why. Why is it breaking? Still it's breaking, is it?
Now okay already.
Okay, now, okay, so what I'm trying to say, the second element is the restraint must be done directly or direct consequence of the defendant's act. So what I'm trying to say here is not necessary the defendant must do the act of imprisonment personally, not necessarily, but he could instruct someone to do on his behalf. It is still element of false imprisonment. So not necessarily he has to do it himself, he can instruct someone to do it. So he's instructing someone to do it, that is against the law. So that means end of the day, the defendant will be charged for it. The defendant will be charged for it. So that the second element, yeah. The element, the restraint must be complete. The third one is the restraint must be complete. See this in your slide 10, can you see in your slide 10? Oh, sorry, slide 11. The restraint must be complete. So that means, yeah, that means what you mean by the restraint must be complete? That means, yeah, the plaintiff is put into a situation where he cannot do any movement. So that means he's confined to the room. If there is an access for him to escape, then it is not false imprisonment. So the false imprisonment comes in, the restraint must be complete. The restraint must be complete here. That means there is no way the plaintiff could escape from that place. That is what you mean by the restraint must be complete. If there's an access for him to escape, then it's not false imprisonment. Then it is not false imprisonment. False imprisonment comes in, the restraint must be complete, and there is no way the plaintiff could escape from that particular location. Not necessarily a room, it could be a fencing. A fencing where he could not climb over the fencing. Let's say the fencing is 20 high, or a cemented fencing. Can he? Cannot. Unless until he becomes a superman, that's a different case, yeah. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, no, yeah. So here, so when you say the third element, the restraint must be complete. The restraint must be complete means, yeah. So that means there's no way the plaintiff could escape from that location. Then only is completed. Then only is complete. If there's a way for him to escape, then it is, of course, it is no false imprisonment. Then it is not a false imprisonment. Okay. So here we are talking about this false imprisonment is done by an individual person, or it could be a group of person, where it is not done by the police officer. If the police officers are doing it, then obviously it is not a false imprisonment. Okay, now going back to police also, yeah. Let's say the policeman is not on duty. He's not on duty, and he's locking up a person inside one. Is it a false imprisonment? Is it a false imprisonment here? What do you think? Is it a false imprisonment here?
If the police has no
okay,
like
he's a policeman, but he's not on duty, but he's locking up someone inside one room. Is it a false imprisonment here?
I think it depends on the situation. If the person is like he commit crime or anything, he want to like ensure the safety of the city, the person he lock him down, then it's not committing
so
crime.
That means, yeah, okay, here what the situation, so that means, yeah, police officer has reasonable grounds. The police officer, even though he is not on duty, he has a reasonable grounds to believe that this person is going to do an act which is going to harm someone, or he's going to endanger somebody, So in that situation, he could justify that, then he could put or lock that person. Not necessary a policeman, not necessarily a policeman who's not on duty. Even a civilian, a normal person like us, yeah, we also can do it. The person is going to harm somebody. and you have an opportunity to lock him in a room, then it is not a false imprisonment, provided you could justify that this person has an intention to do some harm to another person, or is going to do something. So you have a reason ground believe that he's going to do something to another person, then it is not a false imprisonment. Even not necessarily off-duty police officer, even a civilian can do that, provided justified. Because even civilians can do arrest on people, provided it could be justified. You know that this person is going to cause harm or going to kill a person, so you lock him up. If you now locked him up, yeah, you would have killed somebody. So you had an opportunity to lock him, so you could justify. You have a reasonable ground to believe that this person is going to harm someone. So you are locking him, and then you're calling police or whatever, yeah. Then it is not a false imprisonment. So here they will look into what is your motive of doing it. So as long as you could justify, then it is not a false imprisonment. It's not a false imprisonment. Provided you could justify. You have a valid reason to believe that he's going to cause some harm or cause some endanger to another person. Then, of course, you have the right to lock him up or do whatever. So not necessarily it has to be a police officer. So for imprisonment, there is only 3 elements needed. For false imprisonment, there is only 3 elements needed. Yeah. And the other for assault and battery, there are 4 elements. Am I right? Yes or no? Okay. So when so as what I did mention there, that you also have the right to arrest someone. That in law we call it as arrest by a private citizen. In law we call that as a arrest by a private citizen. Arrest by a private citizen. That all comes under the penal. This all comes under the penal code. This all comes under the penal code. This penal code here, which refers to criminal offences. You know that this person is going to cause harm. Even here, like Penghulu, Penghulu. Penghulu is head of a village. He also can do that. If he knew that this person in that village is going to cause some harm to someone, then he also can stop that person and call the police. That is not a false imprisonment. That person cannot bring a false imprisonment against the Penghulu or any city, because that they're doing it in the interest of the public. They're doing it in the best interest of the public. So obviously, you cannot say that it is false imprisonment. Yeah. So that means Penghulus can do that. Private citizens can do that. So these are all not false imprisonment. These are all not false imprisonment. Yeah. Okay. Any question, please? Any question, please? Any question? Any question, please? But don't worry, yeah, because what I did mention earlier, yeah, I'll have some extra classes for you. I'll have, even though officially we have only 2 classes, am I right? But I'll have extra classes for you, because if the thing comes up for your assignment, then of course I have to guide you on an assignment, because that will fetch you almost like 50% of the mark, So then of course I have to guide you to understand, because this is your, you cannot get
Thank you, sir.
You can't get access to the library and all the things, am I right? So I under the situation, not worry on that, yeah. Okay. So now going back intentional thought, yeah, going back to intentional thought, trespass to person. You know what is trespass to person, yeah? So explain what is trespass, what is intentional thought, and then assault, battery, and false imprisonment. Just very briefly, you go through is more than enough. Very, very briefly, you go through is more than enough. It's more than enough, yeah. It's more than enough. Not necessarily you have to go into detail here. But actually, this is what you call as intentional thought, where it's only a minor thing. minor thing. Okay. You know what is harassment? Yeah, you know what is harassment? Pernah dengar tak word harassment? Have you heard of the word? What's your
Yes.
understanding of harassment?
Someone disturb.
Someone disturb. Can you put that person inside prison for disturbing? Okay. When you talk about disturb, how do you define the word disturb? Yeah, disturb in what context? Disturb disturb in what context? I about disturb.
Physically
What do
and
you mean?
mentally.
Huh?
Physically and mentally.
Physically.
Yes. Body contact maybe and
Okay.
verbal.
Okay. Physically, one body contact, and then
Verbal. Verbal.
I can't hear you what you're trying to say.
I'm saying verbal.
Oh, verbal. Is it verbal?
Yes.
Verbal. Okay. Now, let's say somebody is approaching you and telling you you are very beautiful, frequently telling, is it harassment? Is it harassment or is it compliment? Is it harassment or compliment? Somebody is telling you, you are a very beautiful girl. Continuously, every day, that person is repeating to you. Is it harassment or is it compliment?
If every day and then
Every day when he sees you in the morning, he's telling you, you are very beautiful.
if every day, I think it's harassment.
Continuously, of course, it's an harassment already, no. It's of course it's harassment. That means is harassing you, That's harassment. Okay, is it an offense here? Harassment, is it an offense?
Yes.
What is harassment an offense here? What is it? So harassment, of course, is an offense here because it is putting a distress on you, putting a distress on the person. Am I right? Distress. But you see, because harassment, you don't know what is the intention is harassing. Am I right? But can be some intention to harm the person. You could have harassed you. Okay, now I give a situation here. Let's say you are renting a house. And you have delayed in your rental payments. Yeah, you have delayed in your rental payments. And the landlord is coming in front. Let's say one row of houses, is coming because the gate is locked, and he's shouting from the gate, harassing you and saying, hey, you have not paid the rent, I'm going to call the police, I'm going to tell your relations, I'm going to tell your friends that you're making your rental payment promptly and all the things. And the neighbors are hearing that and watching you. Is it harassment? Is that harassment? Yes or no? What do you think? Is it harassment?
Yes, because it makes somebody uncomfortable.
Yes, of course, that is an harassment, right? Because it's putting you into shame. And he's also insulting you in front of your neighbors. I mean, right? Of course, that will affect your reputation. Am I right? True, isn't that? Of course, that is a sort of harassment also. That's also a sort of harassment, yeah?
Teacher, sorry to interrupt you. I want to ask you about the harassment is under what? Is it under trespass to person?
It also comes under trespass, but it's a thing, it's a subheading. It's a subheading. You see, okay. When talking about harassment, the applicability of the principle on which liability may be established under the rule. Okay, there's a rule here. There's a case, I'm not sure whether this case in your slide, Korasadijan Bush. Is it in your slide? Check and see whether this case is in your slide or not. KHORASANDJIAN versus Bush. Ada?
Teacher, I don't know harassment is under which slide.
No, harassment comes under intentional, but it's not a main heading. It's just a part of it. Yeah, just I'm trying to highlight to you all. But in your actual exam, yeah, harassment doesn't come. Harassment, no. But I'm just giving you harassment also comes as part of intentional thought. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, you see here, in that case here, Cora's case here versus Bush here, the plaintiff's former boyfriend was unhappy that their relationship has ended. Okay, and persistently pursued the plaintiff as well as the family with unwanted visit and abusive telephone calls. Harassment. Is it harassment here? Let's say they were boyfriends and girlfriends and they have totally break off. Since a break person, he got upset and he frequently called the relations, friends, and family members. Is it harassment? Is it harassment? They were boyfriends and girlfriends. So the girlfriend decided to end the relationship. Okay, but this boy got upset and he continuously called her family members over the phone and her friends and bothering them. Is it an harassment?
Yes.
Yes, and harassment. Yeah. So here, what the girl can do, yeah, she can put an injunction. An injunction means, yeah, put a stop from that guy from communicating any of her friend or relation. If once she has obtained an injunction from the High Court, yeah, then if he still does that, then this person can be put in prison. Because harassment, yeah, sometimes harassment, yeah, can psychologically affect a person. Sometimes it can psychologically affect a person. Harassment, yeah, sometimes can psychologically affect a person. But if it's one-off situation, that's a different case. One-off situation, no. But here, harassment has to be persistent, continuous. Continuous only then it's harassment. Let's say he's harassing you once a year. Is it harassment once a year? Of course, no, isn't there? The degree. But if it's continuously, like every week he's harassing you, then that's a continuous, then obviously that would amount to harassment. That would definitely amount to harassment. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Any question? Any questions?
No.
Okay. So you see, going back to now. Okay, now before I go into intentional thought trespass to land, yeah. Now, what happened here? If any one of you all done any of your tutorial questions, or you all have too much of assignments to do, and you all don't have time to do the
Yeah,
tutorial
we
questions?
seriously don't have time to do. It's quite a lot
Okay.
of assignment
So you give
recently.
I'm too busy doing assignment.
Yeah.
Hey, your assignment, how many percentage of marks it carries here? Your assignment, the one which you all are doing now, how many percentage of the
Quite a lot.
quite
like
lot means your final exam will be 50%. Your midterm exam is
no.
uh,
Some of the final exam is probably like 30 or 20. I'm not really sure.
oh okay.
So other coursework is like 70% total
So then,
coursework.
okay, so that means your coursework carries quite a lot of weightage also, yeah.
Yes.
So that means your final exam, not all subjects you have 50% final exam. Okay.
Wait, what? Can you repeat again?
Now what I meant is, yeah, not all exams you have 50% weightage.
Yeah,
Like
only
is
your
it
subject lah. Only your
only
subject.
only law 50%? The others all like less than 50, is it?
Yeah, others is more like coursework.
Ah, luckily, yeah.
Not luckily.
Hello, let me tell you very frankly, yeah, easier to pass exam than assignment, you know. Assignments and nuisance, lot of effort work you have to put in, you know. But you see, yeah, another thing you all must understand, yeah. In America, yeah, American law schools, yeah, in American law schools, yeah, during the exam, you can take into your exam hall all your notes, all your books and everything, you know. Are you all aware of that?
Wait, you mean what? Your law subject can bring anything.
In America,
Oh, chill.
in the law school, if you're doing a degree in law, during the exam, you can take all your notes, all your whatever textbooks you're having into your exam hall, and you can put it in your table and you can refer when you're answering your questions. It's an open book system in America, you know, law schools. Is it good or bad?
It's more like depends on their question.
What do you think? In your opinion,
If like the question is more like okay, but then open book is not like directly help them. They still need to like twist the answer to relate back to the question.
to the question,
Yeah.
am I right? But then again, yeah, there are more disadvantages of open book. You know why? Because if you're given a book, yeah, you'll waste a lot of time referring to the book rather than writing, you know. Am I right? So sometimes you won't have time, you know, the time will run very fast. You don't know which we're having so much of notes, you don't know, you'll be flipping, and the time will be running. Okay, never mind. Okay, what I'm going to do a small part here. I told you there are 3 intentional thought, right? One is trespass to person, which you have done, yeah. The other one is land, and the other one is goods. We'll just do very briefly on goods today because we have only another 20 minutes. Yeah, trespass to land, I will do it next week. Yeah, trespass to land, I will do it next week. Yeah, okay. Now, when talking about intentional thought, yeah, interference with goods. This you need to know. Yeah, hello, take down. Yeah, because you have something in your final and also your midterm. Whatever I said earlier, trespass to person also, yeah, your midterm and also for your final, yeah. Okay, going back, intentional thought, interference with goods. Okay, when talking about interference with goods, yeah. Okay, what do you mean by goods? Can you give me a definition of goods? Can any one of you give me a definition of goods? Hello? Can any one of you give me a definition of goods?
Things that can be moved around.
Things, okay, because I think I did mention here, Section 2 of the Sales of Goods Act 1957. Section 2 of the Sales of Goods Act 1957 of Malaysia says, has given you a definition of goods under Section 2. It says, whatever things which are movable are goods, and whichever things which are immovable are not goods. Am I right? So here we are going to talk about goods and what you mean by interfering of the goods. What do you mean by that? Yeah. Okay. Trespass to goods. Yeah. Just take down this. Yeah. Trespass to goods may be defined. Trespass to goods may be defined as a wrongful, and direct interference with goods that are in the possession of another person. In a possession of another person. I repeat again, yeah. The definition, trespass to goods means may be defined as a wrongful and direct interference with goods that are in the possession of another person. Okay, the interests that are protected by this thought are the plaintiff's interests to continue to have possession of his property without any interference of another person. So that means, yeah, so here we are talking about interference with good means. So that means that property belongs to the plaintiff. That properties belong to the plaintiff. So he must have exclusive possession of that particular goods. Am I right? He must have exclusive possession of that particular goods. Am I right? He must have exclusive possession of that particular goods. Am I right? He must have full control of the goods, or physically he must be in control of the goods. But that physical possession or control of his goods has been interfered by a third party. So that means a third party has involved in controlling the possession of its goods unlawfully. And that third person we are referring to the defendant. We are referring to the defendant. The defendant does not own that particular goods. It belongs to the plaintiff. So it is the exclusive control of the plaintiff. He has exclusive possession and control of the goods. He must enjoy with that particular goods. But here, a third party, that's a defendant, is interfering and trying to take away that particular goods, or trying to take control of that goods which is in the possession. So that means he is unlawfully interfering in the ownership of that particular goods. That is what you mean by trespass to goods here. So now we'll go and look into what are the elements needed. What are the elements needed? Okay. Again here, as usual, the mental state of the defendant, which applies to assault, it applies to battery, and also to false imprisonment, right? Mental state. So that means here, has with all intention thought, the defendant must prove, the defendant must be proven to have had the intention to deal with the goods. So that means here, the plaintiff must show proof that the defendant had an intention to deal or to manipulate or misappropriate the property in the possession of the plaintiff. That is the first element he need to show proof. That's the first element the plaintiff need to show proof, that this the mental state of the defendant, the mental state of the defendant means, yeah. So that means, yeah, the defendant had an intention. The defendant had an intention to take control of the goods belonging to the plaintiff, or trying to manipulate the goods in the possession of the plaintiff, or trying to take away the goods belonging to the plaintiff permanently from him. And that is what you mean by the intention. That is what you mean by the intention of the state of mind of the defendant. So the plaintiff must show proof that the defendant had that intention. Okay, that is the first element he need to show proof. That's the first element he need to show proof, the state of the defendant. And the second one, yeah, the second element is interference. The second element the plaintiff need to show proof is that the defendant had an intention to interfere. Okay, when you say interference here, must be through the direct act of the defendant which causes immediate contact with the plaintiff's property or goods. So that means here, first element he need to show proof. The first element the plaintiff need to show proof is that the defendant had a mental state. That's the first element. The second element, not only he need to show proof that the defendant had the mental element to misappropriate the property belonging to the plaintiff, but he has actually physically interfere in that particular goods. The interference must also be voluntary. The interference must be also voluntary. Okay, when I say the interference must be voluntary by the defendant, it can also be, bear this in mind, but it can also be that the defendant has instructed some third party to go and interfere in the goods belonging to the plaintiff. So he doesn't want to deal directly, but is appointing someone to go and do the act of interfering the property of the plaintiff. Okay.
Sir, the voluntary is the third element or it's under the interference?
This comes under interference. Still I'm
Okay,
under
okay.
interference. I'm still under
Okay.
interference. So that means the interference can be done voluntarily by the defendant. He can do it voluntarily, or he can appoint someone to act on his behalf of interfering the property, or the, sorry, not the property, the goods belonging to the plaintiff. But still the defendant will be charged. Still the defendant will be charged here, because he's the one who has instructed the third party to go and manipulate or misappropriate or take control of the property or goods belonging to the plaintiff. Am I right? Okay. Here you can take down this case here for interference here. One leading case here, Haji Awaludin. Haji Awaludin, Awalludin bin Anidin, Anidin versus Majlis Perbandaran Kuantan. Majlis Perbandaran Kuantan. You got it? Go and try to, I think if you Google also, you can get the facts of this case. Yeah, this is one of the leading case. The interference must be, so the law laid down in this case, Haji Awaludin, even though you never mentioned the facts, never mind. Yeah, what was the law laid down in this case? Yeah, the interference must be wrongful. The interference must be wrongful or unlawful for it to constitute trespass. For it to constitute trespass to goods we are talking about, right? Trespass for goods. So the law laid down in this case is to establish interference, there must be a wrongful or unlawful act done by the defendant. Unlawful or wrongful act done by the defendant. Okay, now let me tell you what happened in this case. Yeah, Haji Awaludin. Yeah, okay, who's the plaintiff and who's the defendant? Who's the plaintiff and who's the defendant in this case? Hello?
Sorry,
Haji is
teacher.
plaintiff. Majlis is defendant.
Majlis, of course, the first name is always the plaintiff and the second name is always the defendant. Am I right? Betul kan? Okay, in this case here, the defendant is a local authority, local council. Majlis Perbandaran, you know, Majlis Perbandaran means local authority, town hall. Yeah. Okay, the defendant pursuant the local authorities, they have so much of powers, am I right? Local authorities, yeah, they have the local powers, yeah. The defendant pursuant to powers under statute. That means, yeah, their bylaws, yeah. Under their bylaws, yeah, the plaintiff, okay, required one gentleman, yeah, by the name of Chua, who was the owner on record of the plaintiff. Okay, in fact, yeah, what happened here? The actual owner is Chua, but the person who's carrying out the job is Haji Awaludin. Okay, who was the owner on the record of the plaintiff premises. So the owner of the premises is Chua, but Haji Awaludin was running the business, but the owner of that premises is Chua, you know. Okay, so what happened here? To pay up areas of assessment due within a stipulated time. So of course, if you're the owner of the property, then of course you have to pay assessments, am I right? Okay, now we don't know what was the arrangement, whether the assessment must be paid by the owner or by the person who's operating the business in that premises. We don't know what was their terms here. What was the terms here? When no payments was received, the defendant went to the plaintiff premises. The plaintiff, having brought it from Chua and removed cassette recorder, television set belonging to the plaintiff. The goods were subsequently returned to the plaintiff when Chua paid the defendant the arrears. The plaintiff sued in trespass. This case here went to the Supreme Court, Supreme Court is the old name for Federal Court because Federal Court is the highest court in Malaysia, right? The Supreme Court held that since the defendant had complied with the provision of a particular statute which empowered them to seize goods in the circumstances of the case, the seizure was lawful. So here, the court justified that when they took away the goods from the premises, it could be justified. Why? Under the law, they have the right to take away the goods because the owner of the premises has not paid the assessment. So here, when they remove the goods here, it is not an interference or unlawful taking away the goods, because under the law, they have the power to take away the goods. So what you learn from this case is that, if you are misappropriating or taking away the goods of the plaintiff legally under the law, then it is not interference of goods. So if you are taking the goods wrong, unlawfully, only then it is interference. But here, under the law, the local council has the power to take away the goods, because the justification is this person has not made the payments. If after taking away the goods, the owner went and make the payment, but let's say the owner still did not make the payment, then the local authorities has the power to auction out that particular goods and proceeds from there. They have the right to auction out the goods and proceeds, whatever money which they made from that goods, they could take away whatever debt. So that means what I have to say is that here it is not wrongful interference, because under the law, the power has been given to the local authority to act here. So here, if you do not have the power, but if you misuse or misappropriate, or if you interfere property belonging to another, then it becomes a trespass to goods here. Then only it becomes trespass to goods. But if you're acting within the law, if you are taking away goods not belonging to you, but you're taking away because you have a ground to justify, you have reason for you to take away the goods, then it is within the law. That is all about this particular case here. So what you need to know is, the interference must be unlawful. The interference must be unlawful or against the law. Only then it becomes trespass to goods. Otherwise, no. So the local authority, even like even banks, like banks or whoever, if they given out you loans, and then, or even a car. A simple example is car, under Sales of Goods Act, you're buying a car. Cars are goods, right? Okay, and the thing is that you have to service the loan. Am I right? If you fail to service the loan, let's say you did not service the loan, what the bank will do? If you did not service the loan, what would the bank do? Hello? Hello? Can anyone help me? If you did not service your car loan, what would the bank do? They'll keep quiet.
Take away your car.
Of course, under the under the fourth schedule of the Hire Purchase Act 1967, under the fourth schedule of the Hire Purchase Act, if you did not service the car loan continuously for 2 months and 21 days, if you did not service your car loan continuously for 2 months and 21 days, then a repossession order will be issued. A repossession order will be issued, and that order will last for 21 days. If the 21 days expires, then the bank have the right to repossess your goods. They can only repossess the goods if the goods is outside your house, If it's inside your house, then they have to get a court order, because they cannot intrude or go into, break into your house, am I right? So what they'll do is that they will take away the goods and they'll keep it another 21 days in their storage. And that during that time, you can still go and make the payment to take away. Of course, you have to pay the repossession order and then the storing of that car and all the things. If you ignore, then the bank has the right to auction out that particular goods. Each time the auction, you have to pay for the cost of conducting the auction. The same thing applies even for house or even cars. The auction is on you to pay. So that's why sometimes what the bank will do. Let's say the market value of the car is 100,000, and you owe the bank, let's say you owe the bank 100,000 also. So what sometimes they do, if they can't sell it, they'll sell it at 80,000, and then they'll still come after you for the balance of 20,000. They'll come after you. So here they are doing it legally. It is not interference, because you have breached the loan agreement. So here, of course, what the local authority did is within the law, marriage. So of course you can't do anything. So as long as you know this, a small part only you need to know an exam on goods, As long as you know this case, and the elements, only 2 elements for this, interference, only 2 elements, interference, and of course the state of mind of the defendant. As long as you know this, a small part only you need to know in your final exam, 2-3 lines only you need to explain, and maybe you just briefly say what happened in this case is enough. Okay, what we'll do is that the next class, I will do on trespass to land. Then, what I will do here, because on the 6th, on the 7th, on coming Monday, Fawaz would have informed what is your status as far as your final exam is concerned, whether you're going to have your alternative exam or your midterm and your assignment. Then by our next class, Thursday's class, you would have already known already what is the move, and then we will do accordingly. So whatever I'll do, definitely I will do in your best interest. Okay. Any question? Hello?
No.
Any
No.
question? If in between I get any, okay, but don't worry, because end of the day, the final exam, we set the question and we mark all the scripts. So don't worry anything about that. So of course, I will, whichever way I can help you, I will help you. Okay. So all the best. If anything, I will update in the group which you all have created. I think Monday, coming Monday we'll know. I'm sure the other lectures would have given you all some hints also, isn't there? What about your other lectures? Have they informed you all? What about the full-time lectures? Have they given you all any feedback on your final exam? What's the status?
No.
But I'm sure some subjects you have. How many subjects are you all doing? How many subjects?
Quarter 4.
Including your subject 4, yes.
Okay, 4, law, okay, 50-50. What are the other 3 subjects? You have exam, 50% exam, any other subjects?
Not 50 lah. I think it's overall 20 to 30. I'm not sure.
Okay, but
even
they have
40.
not. Okay, but they have not. The lectures they have not informed you whether you are having assignment to do, a further to assignment. They have not.
They said probably is final exam. I'm not really sure.
They are not okay. But anyway, Monday we'll know for good. Why you have to bother ourselves now? Stress ourselves here. Monday we'll know, and then I will act accordingly. Okay. All right. So what we'll do is that Monday, then coming Thursday, we'll finish off on the person, yeah, and then I will go into environment. Environment, I will only cover whatever you need to know only. That's a very, very big area. I will only cover specific area which you need as far as your exam is concerned. Okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks, yeah. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Semua, okay.